They're going to kill me for what I know. And now, they'll kill you too. The words slice through the elegant silence of the Grand Metropolitan Hotel's marble lobby at 3:47 a.m. Victoria Sterling, CEO of Sterling Pharmaceutical and one of the most powerful women in America, lies collapsed on the polished black granite floor, her $2 million empire suddenly meaningless against the cold reality of her failing heart. Marcus Cole drops his mop with a clatter that echoes through the empty corridors of crystal chandeliers and gold-leafed columns. For 8 years, he has been invisible in this place, a ghost in janitor's clothes who cleans up other people's messes and goes home to his daughter. Tonight, invisibility ends. As he kneels beside the unconscious woman beneath the hotel's soaring ceiling, her fingers grip his wrist with desperate strength. Her lips move in a whisper so faint only he can hear it, a confession that will shatter both their carefully constructed worlds. The billionaire and the single father, two people who should never cross paths in this temple of luxury, now bound together by a secret that could destroy them both. Before we dive deeper into this incredible story that will challenge everything you believe about love, class, and courage, take a moment to hit that like button if you're already invested in Marcus and Victoria's journey. Subscribe to join our community of people who believe that real love can overcome any obstacle. Trust me, what happens next will completely change how you see both of these characters forever. Marcus Cole has perfected the art of being overlooked. At 35, he moves through the Grand Metropolitan Hotel like a shadow, his gray uniform and quiet demeanor rendering him practically invisible to the wealthy guests, business executives, and society figures who populate this world of marble columns and crystal chandeliers. Tonight follows the same routine it has for 8 years since he took this job, mopping floors, polishing brass fixtures, and maintaining the pristine environment where million-dollar deals and high society drama unfold daily. The ornate lobby clock shows 3:45 a.m. when the revolving brass doors whisper open. 3 figures enter, a tall woman with golden hair pulled into a severe bun, flanked by 2 men in expensive suits. Even from across the expansive space, decorated with Italian marble and Persian rugs, Marcus recognizes the commanding presence of wealth and power. The woman speaks in crisp tones to her companions, her voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed without question. In hotel suites that cost more per night than Marcus earns in a month, he doesn't look up from his work. Years of experience have taught him that people like this prefer service staff to remain invisible in their gilded world. The squeak of his mop against marble provides a steady rhythm as he works his way across the lobby's intricate geometric patterns. Behind him, the woman's voice grows more animated, though her words remain indistinct as they echo off the vaulted ceiling. Then everything changes. A sharp gasp cuts through the quiet atmosphere, followed by the sound of expensive heels stumbling across marble. Marcus turns to see the golden-haired woman swaying near the hotel's grand staircase, one manicured hand pressed against her chest. Her face, moments ago a mask of cold control, now contorts with pain and confusion. "Ma'am!" One of her companions reaches toward her, uncertainty replacing his professional composure as his voice echoes in the vast space. She doesn't respond. Her knees buckle, and she crumples to the floor, with a sound that seems amplified by the hotel's acoustics. The 2 men stand frozen like statues among the elegant furniture, their training apparently inadequate for this moment of crisis in their luxury environment. Marcus moves without conscious thought. Years of suppressed instincts surge to the surface as he drops his mop and crosses the space in quick strides, his work boots silent on the expensive marble. The forgotten rhythm of emergency response floods back. Assess, stabilize, communicate. Call 911, He orders the nearest man, his voice carrying an authority that seems to emerge from nowhere in this temple of privilege. Tell them we need an ambulance for a possible cardiac event at the Grand Metropolitan Hotel. The woman lies on her back now among the shadows cast by the chandelier, her breathing shallow and irregular. Marcus kneels beside her on the cold marble, his hands automatically moving to check her pulse. It's thready and fast, her skin cool and slightly clammy. Classic signs of cardiac distress. But something feels different about this presentation in the opulent silence. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" He speaks clearly, his voice calm despite the adrenaline coursing through his system. "I'm here to help." Her eyes flutter open, unfocused at first, then gradually settling on his face, in the soft glow of the lobby's ambient lighting. For a moment, confusion clouds her features as she takes in the hotel's familiar surroundings. Then her lips part, and she speaks so quietly that only he can hear the words that will change everything. "They're going to kill me for what I know, and now they'll kill you too." The whisper hits him like a physical blow in the hushed grandeur. This isn't just a medical emergency, it's something far more dangerous. Before he can respond, her eyes roll back, and her body goes limp on the pristine floor. No pulse. Cardiac arrest. Training takes over. Marcus positions his hands on her sternum and begins compressions, counting under his breath, while the hotel's crystal fixtures seem to watch from above. "Come on," he murmurs, pushing hard and fast in the rhythm that has been burned into his muscle memory. "Stay with me." The lobby erupts into controlled chaos as paramedics arrive, their equipment clattering across the marble and disrupting the hotel's usual serenity. They take over seamlessly, confirming what Marcus already knows. They've managed to restart her heart, but barely. As they prepare to transport her through the hotel's grand entrance, the woman's eyes flutter open one more time. She looks directly at Marcus, her gaze sharp despite her weakened state. With trembling fingers, she slips something into his hand, a business card from the hotel's stationery. On it, she has scrawled in shaky handwriting, "Presidential Suite. Midnight tomorrow. Come alone." The ambulance doors close with a finality that seems to echo through the empty lobby. Marcus stands holding the card beneath the chandelier's glow, his hand still shaking from the adrenaline crash. The two men in suits have disappeared, presumably following their employer to Roosevelt Medical Center. He is alone with the knowledge that what just happened was not a random medical event in this palace of luxury. The rest of his shift passes in a blur. He completes his rounds mechanically through corridors lined with artwork worth more than most people's homes, his mind replaying those whispered words over and over. By the time he arrives home to his small apartment across town, dawn is breaking over the city. 8-year-old Emma is still asleep, her dark hair spread across the pillow, completely unaware that her father's carefully ordered world has just been turned upside down. Marcus sits at his kitchen table, staring at the elegant hotel stationery. Victoria Sterling, CEO, Sterling Pharmaceutical. He recognizes the name now. Her company is one of the largest pharmaceutical manufacturers in the country, specializing in cardiac medications. The irony is not lost on him as he compares his modest surroundings to the luxury she inhabits. He spends the morning researching, using Emma's school laptop, while she eats breakfast and chatters about her upcoming science project. What he finds disturbs him more than he expected. Victoria Sterling is not just wealthy. She's powerful in ways that most people can only imagine. Her company controls patents on dozens of life-saving medications, and her personal wealth is estimated at over $2 billion. But as he digs deeper, Marcos discovers something troubling. In the past 18 months, 3 other pharmaceutical executives have died in what were reported as natural causes or accidents. All 3 had been investigating irregularities in their company's drug manufacturing processes. All 3 had died from cardiac events. The pattern is too clear to ignore. Marcus spends the day in a state of internal debate. Every rational part of his mind screams at him to throw away the card and forget what happened. He has Emma to think about, a steady job that pays the bills and keeps them safe. Getting involved in whatever conspiracy Victoria Sterling has stumbled into is the kind of decision that destroys carefully built lives. But he can't forget the look in her eyes, or the desperation in her voice when she whispered those words. Someone is trying to kill her, and somehow, simply by being in the right place at the wrong time, he has become part of her story. At 11:30 p.m., he makes his decision. Emma is asleep, and his neighbor Mrs. Garcia has agreed to keep an ear out for any problems. Marcus drives through the empty streets to the Grand Metropolitan Hotel, his heart pounding with each mile. The presidential suite occupies the entire top floor, a palatial space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline. Marcus takes the private elevator, his janitor's uniform and master key providing access without question. The hallways are dimly lit, most guests asleep in their luxury accommodations. He knocks softly on the suite's mahogany door and enters to find Victoria Sterling sitting by the panoramic windows, still dressed in a silk robe but clearly alert. In the soft light of the room's elegant lamps, she looks younger and more vulnerable than she had in the lobby. Her golden hair falls loose around her shoulders, and without the armor of her expensive clothes, she seems almost fragile against the backdrop of the city lights. "You came," she says, her voice filled with relief. "I wasn't sure you would." "Your message was pretty compelling," Marcus replies, closing the door behind him. "Care to explain what you meant about people trying to kill you?" Victoria studies his face carefully, as if trying to determine how much she can trust him. Finally, she speaks. "Someone in my company is systematically poisoning me with our own heart medication. I have maybe 3 weeks before it kills me." The words hang in the air between them, stark and terrifying in their simplicity. Marcus sinks into a leather armchair beside the window, his mind reeling as he looks out at the glittering city below. "That's impossible," he says automatically. "Your own medication? That doesn't make sense." "It makes perfect sense if you understand the stakes involved," Victoria replies, her voice gaining strength. "Sterling Pharmaceutical is worth over $8 billion. Our patents on cardiac medications alone generate more than $1 billion in annual revenue. If I die, control of the company passes to my board of directors, and someone has been very carefully positioning themselves to take advantage of that transition." She reaches into the suite's writing desk and pulls out a thick folder. "I've been collecting evidence for months, drug batches that don't match specifications, manufacturing records that have been altered, clinical trial data that's been falsified. Someone is not only trying to kill me, they're sabotaging our medications to cause deaths in other patients too." Marcus takes the folder with hands that have begun to shake again. The documents inside are dense with medical terminology and manufacturing specifications, but what he can understand is damning. Dosage levels that are too high, contamination reports that have been buried, and most disturbing of all, a pattern of cardiac deaths among patients using Sterling's flagship heart medication. "This is mass murder," he whispers. "Yes," Victoria agrees. "And the only way to make it stop is to identify who's behind it before they succeed in killing me too." They spend the next 2 hours going through the evidence together in the suite's spacious living area. Marcus finds himself impressed by Victoria's intelligence and attention to detail. She has been methodically documenting every irregularity, every suspicious death, every altered record. But she has also been doing it alone, trusting no one in her company or her personal life. "Why me?" Marcus asks finally. "You could hire private investigators, former FBI agents, anyone. Why trust a janitor you've never met?" Victoria looks at him with an expression that seems to see right through his humble exterior. "Because you saved my life without knowing who I was or what I was worth. And because When I whispered something that could get you killed, you still came here tonight. That tells me more about your character than any background check ever could." There's something in her voice that makes Marcus look at her more carefully. Behind the corporate executive is a woman who has been carrying a terrible burden alone, facing death with no one to trust and no one to turn to. The loneliness in her eyes is something he recognizes. It's the same isolation he has felt since his wife's death 8 years ago. "There's something else," he says quietly. "I'm not just a janitor. I used to be a paramedic, worked emergency response for 12 years before I took this job." Victoria's eyes widen with interest. "What made you leave?" The question hits like a physical blow, bringing back memories that Marcus has spent years trying to bury. "My wife," he says simply. "Sarah. She had a rare heart condition, something called restrictive cardiomyopathy. I spent months learning everything I could about her condition, working with the best specialists, doing everything possible to save her." His voice catches slightly, but he forces himself to continue. "In the end, none of it mattered. She died anyway, and I couldn't save her. After that, I couldn't go back to emergency medicine. Every call, every patient, reminded me of my failure." Victoria reaches out and touches his hand gently. "I'm sorry. That must have been devastating." "It was," Marcus admits. "But it also means I understand exactly what you're dealing with. These medications you're talking about. I researched all of them when Sarah was sick. I know how they work, what they're supposed to do, and what happens when they don't work properly." For the first time since he entered the room, Victoria smiles. It transforms her face completely, revealing the warm and intelligent woman beneath the corporate facade. "Then maybe we can help each other," she says. "I need someone I can trust, who understands the medical side of this conspiracy. And maybe you need a chance to use your knowledge to save someone, instead of watching them die." The words hit closer to home than Marcus wants to admit. For 8 years, he has been running from his past, hiding behind a humble job and a quiet life. But sitting here with Victoria, seeing the evidence of corporate murder spread across the suite's coffee table, he feels something stirring that he had thought was dead forever. The desire to fight for someone's life. "If we do this," he says carefully, "it puts my daughter at risk too. These people have already killed 3 executives. They won't hesitate to eliminate anyone who gets in their way." "I know," Victoria replies, her voice serious. "And I won't ask you to make that choice lightly. But Marcus, if we don't stop this, dozens of people are going to die. Maybe hundreds. The medication they're sabotaging is used by thousands of cardiac patients across the country." They sit in silence for several minutes, the weight of the decision hanging between them as they look out at the sleeping city. Finally, Marcus speaks. "What exactly are you proposing?" Victoria pulls out another folder, this one containing what looks like employee records and organizational charts. "I need to get back into my company's systems without anyone knowing. The evidence is there, but it's buried in databases that I can't access remotely. I need someone on the inside who can help me gather proof without raising suspicions." "You want me to quit my job and work at your company?" "No," Victoria shakes her head. "I want you to keep doing exactly what you're doing. Janitors have access to everywhere in a building, and nobody pays attention to them. Sterling Pharmaceuticals headquarters is just 20 minutes from the hotel. I can get you hired as part of the night cleaning crew. The plan is audacious and terrifying in equal measure. Marcus would be walking directly into the heart of a conspiracy that has already killed 3 people. But he would also be in a position to gather evidence that could expose the murders and save lives." "There's something else you should know," Victoria says quietly. "If we're right about this conspiracy, the person behind it knows that I survived last night. They'll be watching me, looking for any sign that I'm investigating, or that I've told anyone what I suspect. The fact that you saved my life makes you a potential target already. The words send a chill through Marcus, but they also crystallize his decision. Whether he likes it or not, he's already part of this story. The only question is whether he'll be a passive victim or an active participant in exposing the truth. "When do we start?" he asks. The next morning brings an unexpected complication. Marcus is dropping Emma off at school when he notices a black sedan with tinted windows parked across the street. It's the kind of vehicle that screams government or corporate security, and it doesn't belong in the modest neighborhood where Emma's elementary school sits. He walks his daughter to the school entrance as usual, keeping his voice light and casual despite the anxiety coursing through his system. "Have a good day, sweetheart. I'll pick you up at 3:30 as always." Emma hugs him tightly, her 8-year-old intuition picking up on his tension even though she can't identify its source. "Are you okay, Daddy? You seem worried about something." Marcus forces a smile, ruffling her dark hair. "Just thinking about work stuff. Nothing for you to worry about." As he walks back to his car, Marcus notices the sedan pulling away from the curb. It follows him for several blocks before disappearing into traffic. But the message is clear. Someone is watching him. His phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. "Grand Metropolitan Hotel. Presidential Suite. Now." Marcus recognizes Victoria's direct communication style and changes course immediately. He finds her in the opulent suite overlooking the city, officially there for rest and recovery, but clearly using the location as cover for their meeting. "They're moving faster than I expected," she says, without preamble, her voice echoing slightly in the spacious room with its floor-to-ceiling windows. "I've been effectively locked out of most of my company's systems overnight. Someone has revoked my administrative access to our manufacturing databases." Marcus describes the sedan and the surveillance, watching Victoria's face grow pale in the morning light streaming through the suite's windows. "They know we're working together," she says. "That changes everything." Before Marcus can respond, there's a knock on the suite door. A man in a white coat enters, his short dark hair slightly disheveled and his face showing the strain of a long shift. Marcus recognizes him with a jolt of surprise. "Marcus Cole." The man's voice carries a slight roughness, as if he's been talking for hours. "I thought that was you I saw in the hotel lobby security footage." Victoria looks between them with sharp interest. "You two know each other?" "Dr. Sarah Mitchell," Marcus says, his voice carefully neutral. "We worked together when I was a paramedic." Sarah's smile is professional, but warm, bringing back memories of long shifts and shared medical emergencies. He was one of the most skilled emergency physicians Marcus had ever worked with, known for his calm demeanor under pressure and his ability to make split-second decisions that saved lives. "What brings you to the Grand Metropolitan?" Sarah asks, his eyes curious as they move between Marcus and Victoria in the elegant suite. "Ms. Sterling had a cardiac episode last night," Marcus explains carefully. "I happened to be working when she collapsed, helped with initial response." Sarah's professional demeanor immediately shifts into high gear. "Ms. Sterling, I'm Dr. Mitchell, emergency cardiology from Roosevelt Medical Center. How are you feeling today? Any chest pain, shortness of breath, irregular heartbeat?" Victoria submits to a brief examination, clearly uncomfortable with the interruption, but unable to refuse medical attention without raising suspicions. Sarah's questioning is thorough and professional, but Marcus notices something else in his manner, an intensity that seems to go beyond normal medical interest. "Your preliminary tests show some concerning irregularities," Sarah says finally, his hand steady as he checks her pulse. "I'd like to run a full cardiac panel, possibly keep you under observation." "That's not necessary," Victoria says quickly. "My personal physician is handling my follow-up care." Sarah looks skeptical, but nods, his dark eyes studying her face intently. "Of course." Just please promise me you'll take any symptoms seriously. Cardiac events at your age are unusual and often indicate underlying conditions that require aggressive treatment. After Sarah leaves, Victoria turns to Marcus with raised eyebrows. Close colleague? Marcus nods, feeling the weight of professional history. We worked together for several years. He was my mentor when I started in emergency medicine, one of the best doctors I've ever known. He seemed very interested in your involvement here. Marcus can't argue with that observation. Sarah always was thorough. If he thinks there's something medically significant about your case, he'll want to understand all the factors. But even as he says the words, Marcus can't shake the feeling that Sarah's appearance at this particular moment is more than coincidence. The timing feels too convenient, too perfectly orchestrated to be chance. Victoria seems to be thinking along the same lines. How well do you trust him? The question cuts to the heart of Marcus's confusion. Dr. Sarah Mitchell is someone he has known for years, worked alongside in life and death situations, and respected both professionally and personally. But trust is a different matter entirely, especially when lives are at stake. I don't know, he admits. A week ago, I would have said completely. Now, I'm not sure I trust anyone except you and Emma. They spend the next hour developing their plan in more detail. Victoria will return to Sterling Pharmaceutical and attempt to maintain her normal routine while secretly documenting any evidence of tampering or sabotage. Marcus will apply for a position with the company's contracted cleaning service, using his current employment at the hotel as a reference. There's something else, Victoria says as their meeting concludes. The medication they're using to poison me. It's not just causing cardiac stress. It's specifically designed to mimic my known genetic predisposition to heart disease. Whoever is doing this knows my medical history intimately. The implications of this revelation send a chill through Marcus. The conspiracy isn't just corporate. It's deeply personal. Someone with access to Victoria's most private medical information is using that knowledge to commit the perfect murder. As they prepare to leave the suite separately, Victoria touches his arm gently. Marcus, I need you to know that I understand what I'm asking of you. If something happens to me, if this goes wrong, you need to take whatever evidence we've gathered and get it to the authorities. Don't try to be a hero. Just make sure the truth comes out. Looking into her eyes, Marcus sees something that takes his breath away. It's not just fear or determination, it's trust. This woman, who has learned that she can't trust anyone in her own company or her own social circle, is placing her life in the hands of a janitor she met yesterday. But there's something else there too, something that makes his pulse quicken in a way that has nothing to do with adrenaline or fear. Despite the impossible circumstances that brought them together, despite the danger surrounding them both, there's an undeniable connection forming between them. Victoria, he says quietly, I need you to know it. This isn't just about stopping a conspiracy anymore. I care about what happens to you. She smiles, the expression transforming her face from corporate executive to beautiful woman. I care about what happens to you too, Marcus, and to Emma, which is why we're going to be very careful and very smart about this. They leave the hotel separately, Victoria heading back to her corporate world, while Marcus returns to his modest life. But both of them know that something fundamental has changed. They're no longer just strangers brought together by circumstance. They're partners in a dangerous game where the stakes keep rising. That evening, Marcus receives confirmation that he has been hired as part of Sterling Pharmaceutical's contracted cleaning crew, starting the following Monday. The ease with which Victoria arranged his employment is a reminder of the power she wields, even while under attack. But it's also a reminder of how much they both have to lose. As Marcus tucks Emma into bed that night, reading her favorite story about a princess who saves herself, He can't shake the feeling that they're all standing on the edge of a precipice. The next morning brings news that changes everything. Marcus is having coffee and reviewing Emma's homework when his phone buzzes with an urgent text from Victoria. Emergency. Dr. Mitchell just contacted me about inconsistencies in my medication levels. He wants to meet. Something's not right. The message fills Marcus with dread. Sarah's sudden appearance yesterday, his intense interest in Victoria's condition, and now his direct contact about medication irregularities. It all feels like pieces of a puzzle clicking into place in the worst possible way. Marcus calls Victoria immediately. "Don't meet with him," he says urgently. "Not alone. Not anywhere private." "Why? What's wrong?" Marcus struggles to articulate his growing suspicions. "I don't know exactly, but something about his timing feels off. How did he get your contact information? Why is he reaching out directly instead of going through proper medical channels?" There's a long pause on the other end of the line. When Victoria speaks again, her voice is tight with realization. "Marcus, what if we've been looking in the wrong direction? What if the conspiracy isn't coming from inside Sterling Pharmaceutical?" The thought hits Marcus like a physical blow. Dr. Sarah Mitchell is an emergency cardiologist with access to cardiac medications and intimate knowledge of how they work. He knew about Marcus's wife's heart condition, knew about his medical background, and worked closely enough with him to understand his vulnerabilities. "We need to meet," Marcus says urgently. "Somewhere public, somewhere safe, and Victoria. Don't take any medication that hasn't been verified by someone you absolutely trust." As he ends the call, Marcus looks at his daughter peacefully eating breakfast and realizes that their carefully ordered world is about to be shattered completely. The conspiracy they thought they understood has just revealed another layer, one that strikes much closer to home than either of them imagined. The game has changed, and the rules they thought they knew no longer apply. The coffee shop on 5th Street becomes their emergency meeting point, chosen for its crowd of morning commuters and multiple exit routes. Victoria arrives first, her designer suit and careful composure masking the fear that Marcus can see in her eyes. He slides into the booth across from her, noting how she unconsciously positions herself to watch both entrances. "I've been thinking about Sarah all night," Marcus begins without preamble. "The timing of his appearance, his immediate interest in your case, the way he knew exactly which questions to ask about your symptoms." Victoria nods grimly. "I did some research, too. Dr. Sarah Mitchell has been the attending physician for 2 of the 3 pharmaceutical executives who died in the past year. Both were brought to Roosevelt's emergency room during their final cardiac events." The revelation hits Marcus like a physical blow. Sarah, the man he once trusted completely as a mentor and colleague, has been systematically murdering people while positioning himself as their savior. The betrayal cuts deeper because of their professional relationship built on saving lives together. "There's more," Victoria continues, sliding a manila folder across the table. "I managed to access some employment records before my system privileges were revoked. Dr. Sarah Mitchell has been receiving consulting payments from a shell company that traces back to pharmaceutical industry investors. He's been paid over $500,000 in the past 18 months. Marcus flips through the documents, his trained eye catching the pattern immediately. The payments coincide perfectly with the deaths of the executives, each deposit made within weeks of a cardiac fatality. Sarah hasn't just been killing for personal reasons. He's been operating as a professional assassin, using his medical authority as cover. But why? Marcus asks, though part of him already suspects the answer. What does he gain from this? Victoria's expression hardens. Control. If Sterling Pharmaceuticals stock crashes due to my death and the subsequent revelation of manufacturing problems, certain investors positioned to buy at the bottom stand to make billions. Sarah is just the weapon. Someone else is pulling the trigger. Their conversation is interrupted by Marcus's phone buzzing insistently. The caller ID shows Emma's school, and his blood runs cold. No parent ever wants to receive a call from their child's school during class hours. "Mr. Cole, this is Principal Anderson. I need you to come to the school immediately. Emma is safe, but there's been an incident. Marcus is already standing, his paternal instincts overriding every other concern." "What kind of incident?" "Someone tried to pick her up during recess, claiming to be her uncle. Emma was smart enough to refuse and alert her teacher. But we've contacted the police. You need to get here now." The phone slips from Marcus's nerveless fingers. Victoria catches it, her face pale as she processes the implications. They have moved beyond corporate espionage into direct threats against his family. "Go," Victoria says urgently. "Get Emma and take her somewhere safe. I'll handle things here." "No," Marcus shakes his head, his mind already shifting into crisis mode. "We stay together. If they're targeting Emma, it means they're desperate. Desperate people make mistakes, but they also become more dangerous." The drive to Emma's school passes in a blur of racing thoughts and contingency planning. Marcus calls his neighbor Mrs. Garcia, warning her to be vigilant and asking her to pack a bag for Emma. Victoria uses her phone to contact a private security firm, arranging immediate protection for all of them. They arrive at the school to find police cars in the parking lot and Emma sitting in the principal's office, her young face serious but unafraid. She runs to Marcus the moment he enters, wrapping her arms around his waist. "Daddy, a man tried to tell me you sent him to pick me up, but he didn't know my middle name or my favorite color. I remembered what you taught me about strangers." Marcus holds her tightly, his heart breaking at the thought of his innocent daughter being drawn into this deadly conspiracy. "You did exactly right, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you." The investigating officer shows them security footage from the school's parking lot. The man attempting to abduct Emma is clearly visible, and Marcus recognizes him immediately. It's Dr. Sarah Mitchell, no longer disguising his intentions or his identity. "He's escalated," Victoria observes quietly, while Emma is distracted by a coloring book. "This was sloppy, desperate. He knows we're close to exposing him." Marcus nods, his protective instincts now fully engaged. "Which means he's going to try something bigger. Soon." That afternoon brings an unexpected development that changes the entire dynamic of their situation. Marcus is settling Emma into a safe house arranged by Victoria's security team when his phone rings. The caller is James Morrison, an investigative journalist whose reputation for uncovering corporate corruption is legendary. "Mr. Cole, I believe you and Ms. Sterling are in possession of information that the public needs to know. I'd like to meet with both of you." The meeting takes place in Morrison's cluttered downtown office, surrounded by filing cabinets full of evidence from dozens of investigations. He's a thin man with sharp eyes and the persistent demeanor of someone who has spent his career asking uncomfortable questions. "I've been tracking pharmaceutical industry corruption for 3 years, Morrison explains, spreading photographs and documents across his desk. "What you've discovered about Sterling Pharmaceutical fits into a much larger pattern of industry-wide manipulation." Victoria studies the materials with growing amazement. "You're talking about conspiracy on a massive scale." "Exactly. Stock manipulation through manufactured health crises, executives eliminated when they get too close to the truth, regulatory agencies compromised by financial incentives. Your situation isn't unique. It's part of a systemic problem that's been killing people for profit." Morrison's investigation provides the broader context that Marcus and Victoria have been missing. Dr. Sarah Mitchell isn't working alone. He's part of a network of medical professionals who have been recruited to eliminate inconvenient executives and manipulate stock prices through carefully orchestrated health scares. "The good news," Morrison continues, "is that your evidence, combined with what I've already gathered, is enough to expose the entire operation. The bad news is that publication of this story will put all of us in immediate danger. The next 24 hours pass in a whirlwind of activity. Victoria uses her remaining corporate access to download every piece of evidence she can gather, while Marcus provides medical expertise to help interpret the data. Morrison begins preparing his exposé, coordinating with editors and legal teams to ensure maximum impact. But their activities don't go unnoticed. If you're wondering whether love can really survive when the entire world seems to be against you, you're not alone. Drop a comment below and tell us, would you risk everything for someone you'd known for less than a week? The answer Marcus and Victoria discover might surprise you, because sometimes the greatest love stories are born in the most impossible circumstances. The attack comes at dawn on a Tuesday morning, swift and professionally executed. Marcus wakes to the sound of breaking glass in the safe house kitchen, followed immediately by the acrid smell of tear gas. His training kicks in automatically as he scoops up a groggy Emma and moves toward the bedroom's secondary exit. "Daddy, what's happening?" Emma's voice is muffled against his shoulder as he carries her through the pre-planned escape route. "Just stay quiet, sweetheart. We're playing a game where we have to be very sneaky." Victoria meets them in the building's service corridor, her face grim but determined. Behind them, they can hear the methodical sounds of professionals searching the apartment. Sarah's people have found them, but the security precautions have bought them precious minutes to escape. The safe house was a trap, Marcus realizes, as they make their way to the parking garage. Sarah knew they would seek protection, and he used that predictability against them. But his desperation to eliminate them quickly has also created an opportunity. "He's making mistakes now," Victoria observes, as they drive through the pre-dawned streets. The attack was too obvious, too traceable. He's lost his subtlety. Marcus nods, his mind already working on their next move. "Which means we need to force him into making an even bigger mistake, one that exposes him completely." They spend the morning in Morrison's office, coordinating their final gambit. The journalist's story is ready for publication, but they need more than just written evidence. They need Dr. Sarah Mitchell to incriminate himself in a way that can't be denied or explained away. "He'll come from me personally now," Victoria says, studying building schematics of Sterling Pharmaceuticals' headquarters. "His cover is blown, his network is compromised, and I'm the only witness who can definitively identify his involvement. He has to eliminate me to have any chance of escaping." The plan they devise is dangerous in its simplicity. Victoria will return to her office, apparently alone and vulnerable, while Marcus and Morrison position themselves to document whatever happens next. Emma will be safe with Mrs. Garcia at a location known only to Marcus. But as they prepare to implement their plan, an unexpected complication arises. Dr. Sarah Mitchell calls Marcus directly, his voice carrying the calm authority Marcus remembers from their shared medical emergencies. "Marcus, I know you're trying to protect Victoria, but you don't understand what you're dealing with. She's not the victim in this situation. She's the architect of her own problems." The conversation is being recorded, but Sarah's accusations are disturbing in their specificity. Victoria Sterling has been systematically poisoning her own company's medications to drive up stock prices through artificial scarcity. The executives who died weren't murdered. They were whistleblowers who discovered her scheme. Marcus feels a moment of doubt, a flicker of uncertainty that Sarah exploits with surgical precision. "I've been trying to stop her, Marcus. Everything I've done has been to gather evidence of her crimes. But she's convinced you that I'm the villain in this story." But even as Sarah speaks, Marcus notices something that confirms his worst fears about him. In the background of the call, he can hear a child crying, a sound that makes his blood run cold because he recognizes Emma's voice. "Where is my daughter?" Marcus's voice carries a deadly calm that surprises even him. Sarah's facade finally cracks. "She's safe, Marcus. For now. But her continued safety depends on your cooperation. I need Victoria Sterling eliminated, and I need you to help me do it." The phone call ends, leaving Marcus staring at Victoria with a mixture of rage and determination. Sarah has crossed the final line by involving Emma, transforming what had been a corporate conspiracy into a personal war. "He has my daughter," Marcus states simply. "Whatever it takes, whatever the cost, we end this today." Victoria's response reveals the depth of her feelings for both Marcus and Emma. Then we give him exactly what he wants. Me, apparently alone and defenseless, walking into a trap. But we make sure he doesn't walk out of it. The confrontation takes place in Sterling Pharmaceuticals' executive conference room, 30 floors above the city streets. Victoria enters alone, as instructed, but Marcus and Morrison are positioned in the building's security office, monitoring every camera and audio feed. Dr. Sarah Mitchell is already waiting, no longer bothering to maintain his professional demeanor. He looks exactly like what he is, a killer who has been pushed too far and is now operating on pure desperation. His usually neat appearance is disheveled, his eyes carrying the dangerous gleam of someone with nothing left to lose. "Where's Emma?" Victoria demands without preamble. "Safe, as long as you cooperate," Sarah replies, his voice carrying the clinical detachment he once used to comfort patients. "I need you to record a confession admitting to the pharmaceutical fraud, the stock manipulation, and the murders of those executives. Then you're going to take an overdose of your own tampered medication, ending this cleanly." Victoria moves closer to the conference table, her hands visible and non-threatening. "Why, Sarah, what drove you to this?" The question seems to release something in Sarah that has been building for years. "Do you know what it's like to watch people die because they can't afford medications that cost pennies to manufacture? To see pharmaceutical executives get rich by pricing life-saving drugs beyond reach of ordinary people?" His voice grows more intense, more unhinged. "I thought I could change things from the inside, work within the system to make medications more accessible. But the system doesn't want to be changed. It wants to maintain profits at any cost." Victoria listens patiently, allowing Sarah to reveal the depths of his delusion. "So you decided that murdering executives would solve the problem?" "Not murder," Sarah corrects, his medical training making the distinction important to him. "Justice. Each person I eliminated was directly responsible for pricing decisions that killed hundreds of patients. I was evening the scales. The confession is being recorded from multiple angles, but Marcus knows that Sarah won't leave any witnesses alive to testify about what he's revealed. Through his earpiece, he hears Morrison coordinating with police units that are moving into position throughout the building. But Sarah's paranoia has prepared him for this possibility. "I know they're coming," he announces, producing a device that looks like a sophisticated remote control. This building's HVAC system is now pumping aerosolized cardiac medication into every floor. In about 10 minutes, everyone inside will experience simultaneous heart failure. The threat is credible and terrifying. Sterling Pharmaceuticals' headquarters employs over 2,000 people, most of whom are innocent of any wrongdoing. Sarah has transformed from targeted killer to mass murderer, willing to sacrifice thousands of lives to eliminate the witnesses to his crimes. "The antidote exists," Sarah continues, his doctor's instincts making him provide hope even as he delivers death. "But only I know where it's stored. Victoria dies by my hand, or everyone in this building dies together." Marcus makes his decision without hesitation. He leaves the security office and takes the elevator to the 30th floor, knowing that he's walking into a death trap, but unable to let Victoria face this alone. The conference room doors open to reveal Marcus standing there with his hands raised, his expression calm despite the deadly situation. "Let's end this, Sarah. Just you and me." Sarah's composure finally shatters completely when he sees him. "Marcus, You were supposed to stay away from all this. I never wanted you to get hurt. I respected you as a colleague, valued our professional relationship. But you were willing to kill Emma to force my cooperation, Marcus replies, stepping into the room. That's not the Sarah Mitchell I used to work with. The professional betrayal cuts deeper than any personal dispute. Sarah and Marcus had shared experiences that create bonds between medical professionals, the intense camaraderie of saving lives under pressure, the mutual respect between colleagues who understand the weight of life and death decisions. I became something I never intended to be, Sarah admits, his voice breaking. But I can't stop now. Too many people know the truth. The standoff continues for several agonizing minutes, with Sarah holding the antidote location hostage, while poison flows through the building's air system. Victoria tries to reason with him, offering immunity and protection in exchange for saving the innocent employees. But it's Emma who ultimately breaks the deadlock. The 8-year-old appears in the conference room doorway, having apparently escaped from wherever Sarah was holding her. She walks calmly to Marcus, her young face serious but unafraid. "Daddy, the nice police lady downstairs said to give you this," Emma says, handing Marcus a small device that he recognizes as a building master control unit. Sarah's face goes white as he realizes that his leverage has evaporated. Emma's escape means that law enforcement has located and neutralized his backup plans. The building's air system shuts down as Marcus activates the override, while fresh air begins flowing from emergency reserves. "It's over, Sarah," Marcus says gently. "You can still do the right thing." Dr. Sarah Mitchell looks around the conference room at the faces watching him. Marcus, whom he had mentored and respected. Victoria, whom he had tried to destroy. And Emma, whose innocence represents everything he had claimed to be fighting to protect. In that moment, the weight of his crimes finally crushes the justifications he had built around them. He provides the location of the antidote caches, ensures that everyone in the building receives immediate treatment, and surrenders to the police without further resistance. His confession fills in the remaining gaps in the conspiracy, identifying his co-conspirators and revealing the full scope of the pharmaceutical industry manipulation. The media coverage of the Sterling pharmaceutical conspiracy dominates headlines for months. Victoria's courage in exposing the corruption, combined with Marcus's medical expertise and Morrison's investigative reporting, leads to congressional hearings and industry-wide reforms. But the most important changes happen on a much more personal scale. Marcus accepts a position as emergency medical coordinator at Roosevelt Medical Center, returning to the career he thought he had lost forever. His experience with the pharmaceutical conspiracy has given him a new perspective on his wife's death, not as a personal failure, but as a tragic reminder of why good medical professionals must fight against corruption in all its forms. Victoria steps down as CEO of Sterling Pharmaceutical, choosing instead to focus on patient advocacy and pharmaceutical reform. The company implements new transparency measures and pricing policies that make medications more accessible to those who need them most. Emma adapts to their new life with the resilience that children possess, accepting Victoria as part of their family with an ease that continues to amaze both adults. Her experience with the conspiracy, rather than traumatizing her, seems to have reinforced her confidence in her father's ability to protect and provide for her. 18 months later, the chapel at Roosevelt Medical Center is decorated with simple white flowers and filled with the quiet joy of people who understand that love can emerge from the most unlikely circumstances. Marcus Cole and Victoria Sterling exchange vows in front of Emma, Mrs. Garcia, James Morrison, and a small gathering of friends who have become family through shared adversity. Victoria wears a simple white dress that cost less than her former corporate shoes, but she has never felt more beautiful. Marcus wears his best suit, the same one he wore to job interviews when he was desperate for work to support his daughter. but today it represents the beginning of abundance rather than the fear of poverty. Emma serves as their flower girl, her face glowing with the happiness of a child who has gained not just a stepmother, but a sense of complete family that she had never experienced before. The ceremony is brief and heartfelt, focusing on the commitment they are making, not just to each other, but to the life they will build together. When they kiss, sealing their marriage, the applause from their guests carries the warmth of people who have witnessed love triumph over impossible circumstances. The reception takes place in the medical center's garden, a modest celebration that reflects their new values. Morrison gives a toast that mentions their courage in facing danger together, while Mrs. Garcia wipes away tears as she watches Emma dancing with her new parents. But the most meaningful moment comes when Victoria and Marcus announce the establishment of the Sarah Cole Foundation for Heart Disease Research, named after Marcus's first wife, and dedicated to ensuring that life-saving medications remain accessible to all patients, regardless of their economic circumstances. Some whispers can save lives, others can destroy them, Marcus says, echoing words he had spoken during their darkest hour. But the most important whispers are the ones that say, "I love you, and I'll never leave you." Those whispers can heal any heart. Victoria adds her own reflection. Love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about protecting something precious. And today, we're promising to protect each other, to protect Emma, and to protect the values that brought us together. As the sun sets over the city, the new family of 3 stands together in the garden, where Marcus once thought his life would remain forever small and simple. Emma holds both their hands, her presence a bridge between Marcus's past and their shared future. "Every heart deserves a second chance to beat," Victoria whispers, the words carrying all the hope and healing that have transformed their lives. The story that began with desperate words in a hotel lobby has become something neither of them could have imagined. A love story that grew from crisis into commitment, from danger into devotion, from whispered secrets into shouted joy. Marcus Cole, the janitor who saved a CEO's life, and Victoria Sterling, the billionaire who learned that real wealth comes from human connection, have discovered that the most powerful force in any conspiracy is the truth. And the most powerful truth of all is that love, when it's real and when it's fought for, can overcome any obstacle that the world places in its path. Their wedding photograph, taken in the medical center garden as Emma laughs between them, will sit on their kitchen table for decades to come. A reminder that sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin with the scariest whispers and end with the most joyful promises. The conspiracy that brought them together has been defeated, but the love they built from its ashes will last forever. 5 years later, the Cole-Sterling household has become a testament to how love can reshape not just individual lives, but entire communities. Their modest suburban home, chosen deliberately over the mansions that Victoria's wealth could afford, serves as headquarters for the foundation that has revolutionized pharmaceutical accessibility across 3 states. Emma, now 13 and wise beyond her years, often helps her parents sort through letters from patients whose lives have been saved by affordable medications, her young hands carefully organizing testimonials that fuel their ongoing mission. The dining room table where she once did simple arithmetic homework now hosts strategy sessions for legislative reform, while the kitchen, where Marcus once prepared lonely dinners for 2, has become a gathering place for medical professionals, policy advocates, and grateful families. Marcus has discovered that his experience as both janitor and paramedic provides him with a unique perspective that bridges the gap between working-class patients and medical establishments. His testimony before congressional committees carries weight precisely because he understands what it means to choose between medication and groceries. His credibility comes not from degrees or titles, but from authentic experience with healthcare struggles. Victoria has transformed from a corporate executive focused on profit margins into a passionate advocate who speaks the language of both boardrooms and community centers. Her wealth, once a source of isolation, has become a tool for systemic change. She funds research into generic alternatives, supports medical schools in underserved areas, and creates scholarship programs for students like Marcus once was. The Foundation's most innovative program pairs medical professionals with formerly incarcerated individuals, teaching them skills for healthcare support roles while addressing the industry's chronic staffing shortages. Marcus often tells audiences that everyone deserves a second chance to heal, whether they're recovering from addiction, rebuilding after incarceration, or simply changing careers after personal tragedy. Emma's science fair projects have evolved from simple experiments to sophisticated research proposals that sometimes find their way into foundation funding considerations. Her presentation on how social factors affect heart disease outcomes wins the state competition, but more importantly, it demonstrates how growing up in a household dedicated to healthcare equity has shaped her understanding of medicine as both science and social justice. Their marriage has deepened through shared purpose rather than despite professional challenges. Victoria and Marcus have learned that love requires both intimacy and mission. They strengthen their bond by working together toward goals larger than their individual happiness. Their weekly date nights often consist of reviewing foundation applications over dinner, finding romance in the stories of lives they might be able to save. The couple has testified together before 3 different congressional subcommittees, their partnership lending credibility to arguments about healthcare reform. Marcus provides the medical expertise, while Victoria offers the business perspective. Together, they present a compelling case that affordable healthcare is both morally necessary and economically viable. James Morrison, whose investigative reporting helped expose the original conspiracy, has become something of a family friend. His Pulitzer Prize for the sterling pharmaceutical expose sits in their living room next to Emma's academic awards and Marcus's medical certification. He often brings his own children for weekend visits, the families bonded by their shared experience of fighting corruption and winning. Dr. Sarah Mitchell died by suicide in federal prison 18 months after his conviction, leaving behind a letter that Marcus and Victoria read together in their kitchen one quiet Sunday morning. His final words expressed both remorse for his crimes and gratitude that they had stopped him before he killed more innocent people. The letter serves as a sobering reminder of how good intentions can become twisted by isolation and desperation. The house itself reflects their values. Solar panels fund clean energy, the garden grows vegetables that they donate to local food banks, and Emma's bedroom walls display posters of scientists and civil rights leaders rather than celebrities. Visitors often comment on the warmth of their home, not realizing that the comfort comes not from expensive furnishings, but from the presence of people who have found their purpose in life. On quiet evenings when foundation work is set aside, Marcus still reads to Emma before bedtime, though her books have progressed from fairy tales to biographies of medical pioneers. Victoria often joins these sessions, the 3 of them crowded together on Emma's bed, sharing stories about people who changed the world through courage and compassion. Their love story continues to inspire others who face seemingly impossible circumstances. Marcus's hotel colleagues know that the quiet janitor became a healthcare advocate. Victoria's former business associates marvel at her transition from profit-focused executive to patient-centered reformer. Both transformations demonstrate that love can be a catalyst for becoming better versions of themselves. The whispered words that brought them together in that hotel lobby have echoed through legislative halls, medical conferences, and community meetings, proving that sometimes the most important conversations begin with desperate confessions and end with systemic change that touches thousands of lives.